I have 10 things in Canvas that I'm going to go over today. Some are new, some are old, some are just straight up updated. And so I want to make sure that you have the latest and the greatest from Canvas. Most of you are all Canvas pros, and so in the last year or so, we've been focused more on Teams and Office 365 and all the other things that we need to get the items out there because we have a pretty good background in Canvas. And speaking from myself solely here, I kind of put Canvas on the back burner. So I've kind of wanted to put some focus on what Canvas has done over the past year. Obviously provided a platform for us, but what has been updated and changed and reconfigured on their platform. So I'm going to try and breeze through some things. This session isn't so that all of you have a deep understanding of each of the 10 things, but rather understanding that these 10 things exist. Some of these things are probably things that you're already using, but maybe it might be a reminder or something that's been updated. In any case, don't hesitate to ask questions. I have the chat open in Teams here as well. So if you have questions, you can throw it out there. If we get a break in the action, you can obviously raise your hand. And at the end, hopefully, we will have time for some questions as well. For those of you that are just joining, I'm going to kind of fly through this, so it may seem like I'm going fast, but we can always, as you know, follow up on any of these items. This is simply a informative session to let you know that they exist. So let's go. So the first thing is late policies. And so I'm going to be doing a little bit of jumping around here on my screen, so bear with me if it doesn't switch right over. I've created a resource course. My mouse doesn't always like to appear when I move from PowerPoint to this. I've created a resource course, and I will be sharing this course with all of you shortly in the chat. Well, how about once I open it up? And this course, as we go, I've scheduled 10 of these items, as you well know. Maybe it was 8, I can't remember. I think it was 10. But as we go, I'm going to be adding more and more content as a module for each different session. So if there's anything that you ever want to follow up on, this course has been made public for you. And there's specific items like if we go to the first session, module number 2 actually here, you're going to see that at the very bottom there's going to be a resource area, items covered, and resources. I know this is just another course for you to try and follow, but for my sanity and keeping track of this, I'm just going to do it all in this course. Maybe eventually I'll move it over to the instructor resource area. Up the top, just a quick module with some information on like when the next few sessions are gonna take place. You can see that there are in fact 8 of them and 7 more to come, including one next week that's going to talk about leveling up your image and video use and different tools for you to create images online and MCC offered items and also video in your courses. So mark your calendars if you haven't already for that one. The next item here is, as I mentioned, we're recording this, so once it's done, I will be posting all the recordings here in one place so that if you ever want to reference it or you couldn't make it to a session, there's going to be a special place for you right here nestled into this course for you to find the recording. So let's get this started. Number 1 on the list, as I mentioned, well, first, I guess it isn't a session unless we talk about our objectives, so I made some objectives. Check the box for setting the table for future sessions. I'm going to obviously introduce new and existing Canvas tools, and we're also going to talk a little bit about diversifying ways that you can share content, both with yourself, with your students, with your peers. And I don't know what an etc. is. Maybe you can think of an etc., but it just felt right to put etc. There. All right. So like I said, we're going to talk quick about some policies. There's 2 different policies in Canvas that you might be familiar with, and to get to those, you have to go to the gradebook. And over in the far right-hand corner, this is the new gradebook, which all of you are using. You're going to see a gearbox. When we open up that gearbox, the first tab you're going to see is something called late policies. That allows you as the instructor for your course or courses to set late policies in place. You don't have to do this. It's a simple checkbox. So there's 2 different types of late policies. There's one where you can automatically apply a grade for missing submissions. So when the due date rolls around, obviously you have to have a due date thrown in. But when the due date rolls around, if they haven't submitted the item, students automatically get 50%. All right. And so I have that checked, as you can see. And if we close out of that, you're going to see that right here, this assignment, this column, week 3, was not submitted by any of the students. It's tough to tell just by looking at this, other than the fact that it's red and labeled as missing if you're familiar with the labels. But you can see that out of 5 points, all the students received 2.5 points, which is, and I'm not a math guy, half of 5. All right. So we can go in and we can change that. You're like, oh, that's too harsh. I don't want to be quite as harsh. And you could change that to students only get 60%. Okay. And you can see that that updates. Okay. Actually, I spoke too soon. It does not update. Okay. And this is a key point of this because it will keep what was in place when it initially happened. Okay. So you can see it was 50% when when the due date was missed. Well, now you changed it to 60. If you were to go through and put zeros instead here, doggone it, it was doing it for me last night, but it should have updated. No, that's because I put a 0 in. When I put that, you can see that it changes automatically. When I just delete what's there, it automatically changes it to now 60% since that due date was missed. So that's the first part of late policies, okay? You can check that box, you can say what you want their score to be, and it'll automatically set that score when the student misses the deadline. So you don't have to worry about putting a grade in for a missing assignment. The second part of late policies is to automatically apply a deduction to late submissions. And so for this, you can go by day. And so you can see that if you check this box, you can set the deduction percentage. So I have it set for now for 3% every day. Okay, you can do it every hour as well if you choose. It depends on how you want to do that. But you can see over here in the first column, we've had a few assignments submitted, okay, and one has been graded, and others have not. But if I click in the column or in the cell and I click on that arrow, we can see the labeling there for missing and all those things, and it'll actually tell us right away how late it is. So if I assign a grade, say, you know, if I actually looked at, went to Speedgrader and looked at it, I'm just going to kind of cut a corner here and say, you know, you're going to get 50, you got a 50 out of 50, Lori, and we throw a 50 out of 50 in there, and you can see that the deduction automatically takes place based on what we have in those settings. All right. Frodo over here, let's see, where Lori was 1.73 days late, Frodo was not late. Frodo was on time. So when we put in Frodo's grade, good job, Frodo, you got a 50 out of 50, and you can see Frodo actually gets a 50 out of 50. Let's check out Riley here. And Riley's was late as well, so we know what's going to happen. When we put in Riley's score, Riley could have had a 50, but instead you got a 48.5. So that's late policies. When we add it over here, it applies to the entire grade book. If we go over another column, we come up to our second item, which is grade policies. So if we pop back over to that grade book and we go to this tab, we can set something called grade posting policy. Here's what this means. If you have it set to automatically post grades, the minute you grade it in Speedgrader or enter a grade into the cell, the student will have access to the grade, including the comments. All right, that's if it's set to automatically. It's like if you get papers turned in, a stack of papers, you grade it and you hand it to the student. Grade it, hand it to the student. With manually posting grades, you get to decide when the grades are released. So you could take that stack of assignments that have been submitted. We're talking hard copies here, just for putting this into picture. And you grade all of those and go through all of those, and then you walk through the room and you pass those out. You release those assignments to the students. That's what manually posting grades is. When this happens, you get to go through the columns and grade all of the different assignments. You can set this for the entire gradebook, as we can see here. So if I were to apply this, or you can go through individual assignments and decide if you want to just make the grade posting policy manual only or automatic just for that specific item. When you set this, so I'm going to go through on my grade Maryland's real quick. Maryland, good job, 50 out of 50. You're going to notice a new icon shows up at the top column here. Okay, and I've got a lot of questions about what's that all about. What that tells you is that there's grades here that haven't been released to students that they can't see, hence the line through the I. So in order for you to make sure that all the students see these grades, you just go up here to the menu dots and you click on post grades. That I actually get a sidebar, and you can choose how you want to release those grades. If you want everyone that you've graded to get them, or just the ones that have been graded, whatever you choose, good job. And you notice that I goes away and you have posted your grades. So just to recap that one, because that one's a little bit confusing, you can enable it for the entire grade book, okay, by using this settings over here. And I'm actually going to switch it back because I like them to post automatically. And maybe just for like a test or a quiz, I want those to post when I release them all to everybody. So I change that to manually. And now just for that column, and you can see that there's a label there now for that I will choose when those grades will be posted. So I could have 3 students' grades come in, I could grade them, and then I could release those 3 students. And then the rest of them come in and I could hold those, grade them, then release them. All right, so that's grade policies. Number 3, this one's sweet. There's a lot to this, so buckle your seatbelts because here we go. If you haven't checked out New Analytics, there's a couple different things that I want to go over with you. First of all, it's on the home page. Over on the right-hand side, you'll see a button for New Analytics. Now, I'm not going to use this course for this because I don't have a lot of test student data and actions in here, so I'm going to hop over to a different test course. The route is the same, homepage, New Analytics. If you haven't been to New Analytics, it can be a little bit overwhelming in that you're like, what do I do with this? Okay, so first of all, you're going to see if you have multiple sections in a course, you can choose to view the course by sections. Okay, so right now I'm showing all sections because I don't have multiple sections in here. Actually, I'm not in my test course, sorry, or my other test course. So there we go. So now we're here. So I could bring up different sections, and you can see this one actually does have different sections. I could bring up students to compare. So this first tab right here is the course grade. It deals with just the different grades for different items. And if I hover over it, I can see all of my different course items and what they are, how the average of the section, and then that student that I bring up. I could bring another student up as well, or however many you want. You can see that we get different dots on the map to plot how we're doing, and that just kind of gives you a better idea of where your students are at compared to like course average with an easy graph right here. If I move along, actually before I move along, I want to point out something else that's cool. You may be familiar with Message Students Who from the gradebook. It gives you the ability to message students who got below a certain score or haven't turned something in. It makes it really easy so you don't have to go through and be like, Johnny, Billy, Tiffany, and Lori didn't turn in their assignment and looking up their emails and going to inbox and stuff like that. Well, there's also a Message Students Who here in New Analytics, which is sweet because it's a little bit different in that if we click on this, we can see that we can set more specific score ranges. And obviously, we can do it just like we could before with missing and late items. And we can also identify who the students are and things like that. But wait, there's more. If we go over to our tabs up top here, because there's other sections within New Analytics, we can see weekly online activity. Okay, so we can see how the section's doing as we go. We can also see how different students are doing compared to this. And I'll let you run wild in your heads with how you might put this to use. I can give you example after example, but right now time is limited. But there's also a Message Students Who for this. And you can see that the Message Students Who columns differ a little bit in that you can message students who haven't viewed it yet. So you're like, hey, students, deadline's approaching. You should probably get in here and check out the assignment. Otherwise, you're going to miss the due date. Not that that's your job, but we've all been there. Okay, and you can see that there's also students who participated and didn't participate. And I'll talk about participations here in a second. Okay, but just like before, you know, we can break this down by week, which is super cool, and view weekly averages and comparisons among the sections and different students and things like that. We can also go to the students area, and here's where things get even more fun, is there's also a Message Students Who button. It's very similar to the one that we saw in that first tab, in that we can message based on score range, missing, late, things like that. But I get a lot of questions from instructors that say, hey, Kevin, can you look into this so-and-so student that says Canvas was broken on Sunday night right before the deadline and they couldn't turn their assignment in? But they tried. They were there. They were clicking over and over again. You can kind of look into this too as the instructor. I never mind looking into it for you, but if you want to try to dig in first, New Analytics is a solution for you. From here, you go to the Students tab, and Lori says that she turned something in, but Canvas was glitching, the glitching line. So what we do is we're gonna click on Lori, and we can actually go to like different items. So we can view the different weeks of activity. Okay, we're here viewing Lori. And from here, we can go find, okay, Lori says during this week right here, okay, she had an issue. Well, this goes way back and nothing actually happened, so I probably shouldn't use that as an example. Let me close that one out. Bad example. Here we go, something happened for Lori. So what we can actually do is click on this data point and it will bring up the things that Lori did within the course. Lori's a terrible example. Lori didn't do anything. I meant to click on Marilyn. Marilyn's got all our page views and our participation. So let's click on Marilyn. There we can see Marilyn's been getting after the coursework. So we go to the weekly online activity. We go, it happened during the week of 3/14. We see that Marilyn had some page views, but no participations. And we can see all the different things that Marilyn visited during that week and any participations. Participations are taking a quiz, turning something in, participating in a discussion, actually doing something. So if they said they submitted, but there's not a participation, they didn't actually submit. It's simple as that. I can dig in a little bit deeper on a spreadsheet. This spreadsheet that you'll get here from a download, the CSV file, isn't as robust as what I can get. So if you still want a second opinion or you want to look a little further, hit me up and I'm happy to do that. But just so you know, this exists for you and you can use this to view participations, and you can see it's broken up between page views and participations. So if you just want to see participations, well, we can see that Marilyn took this quiz, actually took it twice. Marilyn took this quiz and took it 6 times, or accessed it 6 different times. So a wealth of information there. Just a little bit more here within New Analytics, and that's that last tab is the reporting. So if you want to run a report on missing assignments in a course or late assignments, and you can see the list there, the reports area is the place to be. All right. So I see that some questions have rolled in. Elizabeth asks, will every EdTech become a new module? The answer is yes, it will be. And I'll have any resources and information that I accumulate for that thrown in there, and I'll make sure to point it out every session. Is there a way to assign a late policy on a bi-weekly or weekly basis? That's something I'd have to look into because I haven't tried that. Because with late policies, you can't always apply it to specific assignments. You have to apply it to the whole grade book. At this point, I'm guessing no. And to find New Analytics, you just go to the course homepage, and you'll see it as a button over here on the right-hand side. All right, moving along. We're on to number 4, and these will go a little bit faster now. Embedding in Canvas. So any instance of the rich content editor, which is basically available for you to type in instructions and things like that, and quizzes, discussions, pages, assignments, allows you to also embed items. So if I pop over to the actual course that we got going here, and I can show you, I have let's see, I think it's for assignment 1 I was going to do this in. And I can actually go up to edit, and there's 2 ways for me to embed something. Now, if you're not sure what embed means, embed is not me just pasting a link into this area, okay? Because that all it does is give a hyperlink. Embedding is actually taking like a YouTube video and placing that video to be able to be played right within that space. So I have a video here, and I'm going to back it out a little bit. If you're not following Mike Tholfsen on YouTube, you should subscribe to him. He gives great tips. I don't know how he makes so many videos on almost a daily basis. But if you click on share, you're going to see that there is embed code. And you just take that code and you copy it. And you can take that right on over to Canvas. And you don't want to just paste it in here because it's going to be a bunch of gibberish for your students. You don't want that. What you want to do, there's 2 ways to do this, is you want to use this embed function. Okay, and I did that quick. But over on the right-hand side, there's a cloud. And if you click on that cloud and hit paste, you can actually take that video. Let me make this a little larger so you can see it. You can take that video and place it right there within the flow of your course page. Like I said, you can put these items in assignments, quizzes, any rich content editor. You can also, if you want to, access the code area. And this is the way that it used to be. In the bottom right-hand corner, there's a little code icon here, the HTML editor. And I know that this will look confusing to a lot of you, and it even does to me a little bit. But you can actually paste that iframe right there as well. Go back to the bottom right and return here, and that will place that code so that your students can play it right within the rich content editor. So that's the 2 ways to embed items. And I'm going to actually run it through one more time. So I'm going to go back to the home page because I actually have some functionality out of this. I'm going to take a form. I have a form here for the end of this session, and I'm going to go down to the session feedback area. And I'm going to click edit. We're going to go over here to my form. I'm going to go down to the embed, copy that, and I'm going to place a form right here on the session feedback so that I can then share that with all of you so that at the end of this session, you can give me some feedback so that I can tailor my future sessions. I just put that in the chat. You don't need to do it right now. Keep paying attention. So I can tailor my future sessions to better serve you. All right, so that is embedding. Let's keep on moving. Number 5, copy to, send to. This one I've hit on quite a bit through emails and things like that, but it's always good to revisit things because you never know who missed something or didn't need it at the time but needs it now. Canvas has made it super easy for you to share your course content with other courses that you instruct and your peers. And so if you need to send something to somebody, you don't have to put it to Commons or you don't have to do a course copy to your other course. You can just go to the module or wherever the item is, click in the menu dots, and you're going to see a send to or copy to. Send to allows you to send this to another person. So if I click on that, I see, let's see who's the first person. I see Don is the first person I see in Teams. I start typing in Donald, and there he is. And I can share this item with Don, and I can keep typing people in all day long and send that directly to them. Very quick and easy to do. If you are Don or you are the other people that received that item, you'll get a notification up here in the upper left-hand corner of your account, and you will see another notification near shared content. Yep, that's there. And from there, Marilyn shared something with me. I can take it, I can preview it, and I can decide where I would like to go with it. Okay, and I can get rid of it as well. Okay, so very easy for you to send content to others. Let me back on out of here, head on back to that module area. And I want to this time send assignment 1 to another course that I teach. I use the copy to this time. So I go copy to, and I'm going to have a ton of courses here. But Canvas has updated this so that you're only going to see your courses, and you will also see your courses by term. These little labels didn't used to be here. In fact, I sent out an email probably like 2 or 3 months ago that said, hey, find your course ID and enter that in there because that'll make it easier. Well, now, if you teach Com 2008, there might be a bunch of different ones, but there's Spring 2020 or 2021 listed there. So it makes it easier for you to decipher which one is which. And watch, there's multiple. So it helps you to better identify what course you're sending it to, if it's a previous course or an upcoming course. So that's copy to and share to. What's next? All right, module requirements and prerequisites. I need to slow down a little bit. I'm getting that. You remember the Micro Machine guy from back in the day, how fast he used to talk? Sometimes I feel like that. So if you want to personalize your modules and add that element of you can move through as you want or can, you can add requirements and prerequisites. So if your modules have things like complete all items, that's a requirement. And to set those up, you just go to the module header, any module header. And when you do that, you'll see edit as the first option. From there, you can add prerequisites. And so if there was a previous module, which in this case, there's only one because we clicked on the second module, we can actually require students to complete all the items in that module before moving on. So if there's an assignment or if it's just a matter of clicking through a page, they need to do that before they get to that. So you can see prerequisites have now been set. So if you're a student in this course, this will all be grayed out until you complete the items here in this module. Those are prerequisites. Just like taking Biology 100 before you take 101 or however it goes. All right. When it comes to requirements, it's the same process to get to it. But here you are putting stipulations on how they complete the items within that module. Requirements are great, especially for like content pages and other things, because you can say students must complete all of these requirements. And then you can say if you want them to go through in sequential order, meaning top to bottom, or you can have it so students must complete one of these items. And you can see that you can choose all the different items in the modules. You could choose all of them if you wanted to. You could make it so the content pages, and I love this one. This one's great, is so you can set like this. I want them to read the information in the objectives. Okay, as the instructor, I want when you visit this page, in order for you to move on, I want you to not just view it, I want you to mark as done. Okay, so we've set that. I'm going to update that. And actually, before I do that, I want to remove this prerequisite because I'm going to hop on over to a student view to show you. I'm going to remove that prerequisite. There we go. And I want to remove the complete all items from this one too. There we go. Because now when I go over to my student view, there we go, and enter as Susie Q this time, what you're going to see here is that session 1 objectives, it actually puts a mark as done here. Now, like, I don't have to actually read a single thing on this page. I'm not going to look. I'm just going to look for the mark as done. And yep, I can complete that and mark as done. But what it does is it forces your students to go to that page and maybe, just maybe, they'll read something. You don't have to do it. It's up to you. But just know that it is a feature available to you within the requirements and prerequisites area within Canvas. And just to recap that, to get that, you just go to the module header line, click on the menu dots, click on edit, and you'll see your option to add prerequisites, meaning they have to complete something in the previous module or modules, or requirements, which deal with the module that you're currently in. All right, let's check the chat. Oh man, quite a few chats going on here. Yeah, Elizabeth, I agree. I'm glad they added that embed because trying to get people that are uncomfortable with code into the coding area can be a little bit overwhelming. I get that. This way you can just kind of put your cursor wherever you want it to go and use that embed button and it'll put it right there. Heather says, when hiding grades from students, does that mean it doesn't factor into their current grade calculation for the course until we release it, publish it? Yes, that's correct. That grade is in there, but I don't believe that they will see any update to their percentage because, and I'm kind of guessing, I'm answering this with a common sense approach in my head because it seems like if you had like 2 items and they, got a 100 on one and then got a 0 on the other, and the grade showed up without or didn't show up, but the percentage did, you probably have some questions. So I hope Canvas did this the right way. Elizabeth says, when a page or assignment content is shared, be careful because any linked course files don't always follow. Yeah, there is also a link validator within your settings area. So if you go to your settings, you can actually validate the links in the content to make sure that those links aren't broken or anything like that. But I think what you might be talking to as well are like textbook LMSs that the links might not work and things like that. So yeah, definitely something to follow up with your students on. Heather says, if you link and set permissions to anyone in my organization, okay, that's a follow-up to Elizabeth. So yeah, and that's dealing with Office 365 and links like that if that's what you're sharing. All right, cool. Let's move along. Number 7, MasteryPaths. Now, I forgot my first form, but I actually embedded some polls in here in this Teams meeting, and I'm going to go ahead and launch one of those now. There we go. It's very simple, and you should be seeing it shortly. If you can just go ahead and fill this out, it will kind of goes along with MasteryPaths. And I'll give you a second while I take a sip of water. Now these polls, I know that I've introduced them a couple times, but they are great tools within your Teams meeting. And I also know that they don't yet work in your channel meetings, and a lot of you schedule things in your channels. So, but just a heads up, I know that the plan is to get those over into channel meetings as well. But a pretty cool tool. So that leads me into MasteryPaths. And if you haven't used MasteryPaths or thought about using MasteryPaths, it's a great tool for personalization, for crafting your content for students that are struggling or excelling or anywhere in between. MasteryPaths allow you to assign additional content in your modules based on how a student does on an item. Okay, so what I did was I established this mastery example, okay? And you're gonna see that down below, there's 3 items that flow from it. And you can look over to the right, there's point values associated with that. We'll get into that here in a second. If I pop over to student view, and we look at the student's view of that module, you're gonna see that it's not quite the same. Check this out. So that what the student sees is just mastery example, that prescriptive item, okay? They don't see these other items here, the explore, exploring more, and exploring the most. That's because they haven't done the mastery example yet, and how they score on that mastery example is what's going to then be assigned to them. So if they get a 7 out of 10, they will then only see exploring more. They'll never see all 3 of these items. They will only see the item that pertains to the score that they've received. So the best part about MasteryPaths, other than that, is that they're really easy to set up, like super easy. So if we go to that mastery example here, we have an assignment already in our course. Great. All right, we go to edit it. And up at the top, you're going to see a tab for MasteryPaths. So you can add anything you want as a MasteryPath. So if a student does really well, and you can set the score range, and you just click on this plus here, and you can add literally anything from your course as additional content. So maybe you want to say, hey, you didn't do very well. You need to look over this content page that has some resources and some information on it. And you can put the little mark as done item on it just to make sure that they do that, or at least they visit it. And you can also add, web links and things like that here and other resources for them to get to. If you wanted them to do a quiz or something like that, you can filter it from here. So just for the sake of example, I'm just going to go ahead and show you how we can easily throw and line these things up. Notice that they are really snug together, these 2 items, and there's a little and in between. This is something that I overlooked for the longest time, but it's a really cool feature in this, is that you can make this and or. So you can allow the students to pick how they're going to get more information on that topic if they needed to. Or you can say, hey, you're gonna look at this page and you're gonna take this quiz. And we can repeat that process from here, add whatever you want. You can add the same things. So if you wanted to, let's see, that's a content page. I can go to pages. There's my explore page, and I can add that and move that to the front there. And I can say, hey, you have 2 ands, and then you can choose, if you after you do the explore, you can either do this or this, okay? And just like that, once you add those items and we pop on back to the home page or the module area, you're gonna see that more items have been added, okay? Based on how they do or should add eventually. But I'm guessing since it's, it should show up. Maybe it takes a minute. But those items will be added there, okay? And we see if we go back to that student view and refresh that, nothing here has changed. So MasteryPaths are just a great way for you to hit them with some supplemental things. Maybe you want to give them an assignment and take it like a prescriptive quiz that says, hey, then you can either do a presentation, a video, or write a paper based on how you score, or let them pick their pathway to how they do it. This is a very easy way, MasteryPaths that is, to get them cooking with that. All right, 7 down, a couple more to go. All right, so rich content editor, new features. Let me bounce back to a rich content editor. So if I'm just going to go to the assignment area, there's a few new features with the rich content editor. For those of you that joined a little late, there's an autosave now with pages as well, so that if you leave without saving something, it will say, hey, did you want to include that? I'm not gonna. But the rich content editor has added some new features. We know in the last couple of years it has changed its view totally. But I just want to point out a couple of the items. First of all, you can edit this in full screen. So if you wanted to have a much larger view, you can. You just hit the escape button on your keyboard to get out of that. For those of you that don't know, you're like, wow, this is such a small window for me to type in. If you don't want to go full screen, you just click on this right-hand thing and you can drag this down to make this larger. So that's pretty cool. I mentioned the code editor already. That's changed a little bit from the fancy code editor, the pretty code editor, to the raw one that you see here that's so basic and doesn't identify the lines, and shame on them for not doing that, but you can bounce back and forth. Let's see here. If you haven't used the accessibility checker available, You just click on that and it'll check your page for accessibility. I don't have a lot on here, but apparently I am good to go, no issues. Word count, you can see that that is there as well. They did other couple things like they grouped the different icons. You can see just like you're used to seeing like Word and PowerPoint. Obviously not as robust, but those different groupings are in place. And then adding images is really easy. I've been adding images like crazy to this thing. All you have to do is click on the image icon, the drop down, and you can take an image and you can drag it, boom, and drop it, and your image is ready to be displayed just like that. Okay, and I'm gonna get rid of that. So yeah, just a couple of updates that make things a little bit easier for you when editing, you know, assignments, quizzes, content pages, especially and things like that. Let's see here, 2 more. We're down to 2 more, and these are brand new features. Okay, the 9th one is Webcam Submissions. Now, Webcam Submissions, there's a little caveat with that, in that I introduced, or Canvas introduced, and then I told you, and you might have found out on your own, but I tried to tell you that there's a new assignment enhancements area that kind of walks the students through a timeline of submitting an assignment. That doesn't work for Webcam Submissions for some reason. I hope that they bring it to us soon. But if I pop over to the student view of things in the course and go to assignment 2 here, if you allow file uploads for an assignment, students can now use their webcam to submit something. Okay, and all they have to do is allow it. And you're like, hey, submit a picture of a $2 bill. Why I have a $2 bill on my desk, I don't know, but that's what I had. And there we go. And just like that, they can submit that. Boom. I just submitted a file upload as an assignment. Look at that, I got the confetti and everything. So now as the instructor, if I pop on over to the module area and go to that assignment 2, go to the SpeedGrader, boom. Hopefully this works for me. Come on, Susie Q. Hopefully your assignment came through. Boom, just like that, that quick. So if you wanted students to just upload a sample item or something like that quickly, and they, you know, maybe they were writing something by hand, or you could probably think of a lot of different things, the webcam view is now available. But like I said, you have to turn off the assignment enhancements. If you're wondering, how do I turn off the assignment enhancements, Kevin? I'll show you. It'll take me like 15 seconds. So here we go. You go to your course settings. You go to feature options tab up top, and you see assignment enhancements right there. You just click on that and disable it or enable it. Okay, depending on what you want to do or if you need that. All right. I love the assignment enhancements as far as that timeline that walks your students through, and it actually will show that doc viewer. So if you leave inline feedback, it'll show it right in that assignment enhancement area. But like I said, you won't have the ability for that assignment or those assignments to do the webcam submission. So it all depends on what you're trying to do in your courses. So if I pop back to SpeedGrader, that will take me to the next thing, which is that's number 9. Here's number 10, the reassign via SpeedGrader. So if you need to reassign a student and tell them to do something again, you can do that now from SpeedGrader. Now you need to make sure that you have it set up for multiple submissions, and it also has to, hold on, there's some fine print. It's not available for LTI, so like cloud assignments, Office 365 cloud assignments, on paper submissions or no submissions assignment, meaning you just give them points. You also have to have due dates. If you, and I'll show you this here in a second, when you return to the SpeedGrader after navigating away, the reassignment button is going to go gray. No big deal. It's just waiting on the assignment or the student to submit the assignment again. And if the assignment settings do not allow students to make an additional attempt, the reassignment shows that the assignment is not able to be reassigned. So if you have like 1 attempt allowed, obviously it's not going to work. So let me show you what that looks like. You have to leave a comment. So good job, Susie Q. You turned it in. Great job. And we could even do an emoji. We're smiling because we're happy for Susie. And just like that, okay. But we could also, if Susie didn't do a good job, we could have been like, you got a 0, delete that comment. Please resubmit. Okay. And then we can see that this works for us. And that sends a message to the student to let them know that they need to redo it. And you can see, like it said, that button now goes gray, and the student has it on their court to resubmit it. Okay, and I got a notification that I need to resubmit it. Okay, so that is number 10 right there, and that concludes all that I had to throw at you today. I do have 2 quick bonus features. I know that we still have a couple more minutes, and I want to still leave some time for questions. But one thing that I do want to point out, the bonus features, I always got to have some bonus features. If we go to the module area, if you wanted to add a quiz via the module area, notice that you remember there's 2 different types of quizzes in Canvas. There's a classic quizzes, which you're probably used to using, and the new quizzes that you're like, why did they come out with new quizzes? They're terrible. They're still working on them. They're still working on them. And things are getting better, slowly but surely. But what I'm trying to tell you is you can go here and add a quiz. And actually, I'm sorry, I'm jumping over things. You can go here and create a quiz, and then you get to choose whether it's a new quiz or a classic quiz. Now be careful with this one, because you'll notice what was the preferred by Canvas option when I chose create quiz. So if you're not paying attention to this, if you're not attending the Edtech Dialect session today, you might have to spread the word on that to your peers, okay? That they're gonna, if they want a classic quiz, they have to actually click the box, otherwise they're gonna get a new quiz, and maybe they'll be frustrated. Also, there's in the settings area of the course, when we're talking about course availability, you can actually adjust the course availability. Let's see here, right here, you notice it's changed a little bit, and you can do it by term or by course. If you do this by term, it's going to take on what we have set in the admin area for the term dates. If you do this by course, then you get to put in your end date like you have been allowed to do all along. So if you need the students to have extra time in your course, you can set that here. Course start and end dates take precedent over term start and end dates. So remember that. So if you need more time, you don't want your students to be locked out and yourself to be locked out, you want to go in here, change that to course, and adjust that end date. All right, that's it. No more bonus. In the chat area, I shared a checkout survey. You don't have to do it, but it'd be great if you could. Just to give me some feedback from you. You can say things like you talked too much or you didn't talk enough or all those things, and I will read them, and I will try to do better next time. Like I said, for those of you that joined a little later, that's cool. You're not tardy. I'm not taking attendance. But I want you to know that next week, Wednesday, we're going to do another one of these sessions on video and image tools. So if you're looking to up your game a little bit with your video use or just adding some sweet images or GIFs and things like that to your course, I'm here for you, and I'm going to give you some information. If you use it, that's up to you. Well, I have a list of Canvas items that I'm accumulating again. So once I have 10 items on that list again, I'll fire off another one of these sessions, but it probably won't be until August or so. Until then, we'll see you next week and maybe the week after or whenever these sessions flow through. I really appreciate everyone tuning in today, taking time out of your busy schedule, and enjoy April.